everyone, Irene Krause playing as Athena Artist for you here in what I'm calling an overview of Surviving the Aftermath with the latest update, which is called Expeditions. Now, I have my game paused here because with them doing these updates and things and changes, it's, at least in my opinion, it's not really practical to do a full walkthrough at this time because, well, especially someone like me who likes to do a lot of additions to when I do my edit work before I post a video to explain the how and the why of what I'm doing. By the time I finally get a video done, it seems like they've already got another update out and stuff. And so, not that I'm complaining, mind you, it just is that I really can't do a justice to a walkthrough because it takes me so long. But we'll get into that now. Okay. At this point in the game, this is on the easiest level because I've also been running into issues with resource management yet again. And I've been trying to explain this to the developers, and so I guess I should start with that point. Now, at this point in the game, I don't have the full tech tree unlocked, but I'm getting very close to that. As you can see, there's quite a bit of it that's been unlocked. So I have the extractors unlocked, which, believe me, I absolutely do love. But the thing is, the extractors, and I think I have just about every plot where there's metal. This is the surface level of the metal that's on the surface has all been exhausted. The only way I'm getting metal now in my colony is through the use of these extractors. And I think I may have missed one, but I do believe I've got darn near every single one of them open. Most of the ones that are still open are either for the plastic or for the concrete. So, but as you can see, I'm still struggling. I'm not, with all of those, I think there's at least 7 of these deposits like this. Even though they're working full time, you know, I have enough power going, everything's working, they're not able to extract and generate enough metal to really, it's a real struggle to get anything built and to keep the colony viable, because I had just unlocked the comfortable housing so that I can start building the houses and the 2-story houses. So that in fact, this is, I think, one of my first ones that I'm building right there. It's trying to replace all of these tenements that I have and the shanties and so forth. Well, I just don't see myself doing it in a rather expeditious manner because I'm just not going to have the metal to do it. And I thought, well, okay, the other approach to do is just to, as I continue to build new structures, that I put up the better quality ones and eventually get around to replacing some of these other ones, which is one way to go about it, I suppose. But anyway, so what I think is the problem is that, like I said, I've got all of them running and going. There's more than enough metal there. That's not the issue. It's the fact that I think that these extractors, they need to be, this is what I think, they need to be producing the metal more efficiently. In other words, either producing more each time they swing their little things around or whatever. But anyway, okay. Enough said on that subject. That's the problem, is this with this metal deposit. Even though I have all of these up and going, I'm constantly running out of the metal that's here. And of course that means progress at this point is becoming very difficult. Okay, now let's see. So let's talk about some of the other updates. Of course, most of the updates are involving the expeditions now. Yes, we got these are our outposts. We got these unlocked in the last update. Now this one, for example, you could find that's out here on our world map. Now these are really neat for those of you that have not seen that part. You link a position. You see all these little round circular places. There's places on each of these little quadrants, you know, one of these where you could drop an outpost into, which will end up on your map looking like this. So that means when your specialists are running all about and they're collecting things, they can run over to one of these outposts and drop off whatever resources and items that they're carrying, and then it would instantly appear here in this outpost depot here in your colony view and become available for them to work with. So that's really wonderful. Now, I don't know what that is. Oh, that's some sort of a outcropping there. But anyway, I really do like that. The other thing, of course, now that they've added, which was in the last update again, was the well, they've done a lot of improving and changing with the trading. Now, as you can see right at this point, I have 3 different trade centers set up here. Now, the trading is down here, and you can open it up here. Now, we're no longer getting to trade for free, in other words. Now, we have the reputation situation to go with. Now, and you do need to watch this very carefully when you go about doing your trading. Now, let me find one here. Like this one has a seed type, which is actually eggs for the buffalo worm, which is one that grows quite a bit faster and produces a lot more protein in that in your insect farms. But the thing is, as you can see here, it tells me that I have to have 50 reputation points that I must, in this case, give them. And right now my reputation is 462 out of 1,000. So what I need to do is look for trades, which is what I'm doing actually at this point, is in this case, I'm giving them, this is the biofuel that's up here. I'm giving them 54 of those, which is going to give me 518 reputation points. Now, it's not going to happen, though, until for 12 more days. But once that hits, then I will have no problems being able to get those seeds there. And the same for this particular trading partner. They have the flax seeds. I also got earlier, I had gotten the seed for the sunflower seeds, which is how you actually go about getting to make your fuel and so forth. You have to grow the sunflower seeds and then process it in your refinery, and then it becomes fuel. Turns just from oil to a fuel. But anyway, that's the thing to keep in mind. Now, the one complaint I have about this is at times, for example, one of the things that they have listed in here is perhaps a meal type. They are looking for one of the meals that your cookhouses can prepare for you, which would be either your insects meals or your so forth. Now there's your veggie meal and your mixed meal. Now you can see these icons are rather small, and they look very, very similar when they're down in this really tiny size. It's only when you can see the larger size up here you can sort of distinguish between the two, so you could tell which one sort of looks like which ones. But when you're looking at them here in the trade menu, you're only getting to see that tiny little icon. So in other words, it's kind of difficult if it says that, say, for example, one of the things they're really looking forward to is some sort of meal that they want you to give them. Well, and it doesn't say over here, for example, as you can see, it doesn't say what the item is. In this case, they're looking for planks, but you just have these little icons, and it's quite hard for you to determine. Well, in this case, I could tell what it is because it's planks, and I could tell. But if it were a meal item, again, all I would have would be that tiny little icon, and it's quite hard for at least someone with me who has vision problems, some ability to distinguish between some of those meal types, their icons. I really wish there was some way in here in the interface it would actually pop up, maybe like a little tool tip or something. And also in the trading menu itself, when you're encountering people, that where it would say what the name of the item is. For example, if they have a seed type, I mean, is it a soybean seed or is it a peanut seed? Especially when you're starting to play the game, you're not going to know how to recognize what those icons look like. It's going to be quite a... Don't get me wrong, the peanut seeds are wonderful, but the soybeans, because those are generate protein for you, are wonderful and everything. So that's one of the things I wanted to mention. Now, the big thing that was introduced again is in this update, the expeditions, was the cars that you can find on your world map, and then you can bring them, your specialists can bring them back to your colony, and then you can have these garages that can then, where one of those vehicles can be brought in, but the thing is you do need to have a specialist in here. The specialists are the one that work in these buildings. You don't have colonists that work in here. It has to be a specialist. What they do is they repair the vehicle, and of course they fill it up with gas, with your fuel. And then once you have them, well, let's see if we can find where one of the ones that I've found so far and fixed, where they're just sitting here on my map. I've found two so far, I think, in this particular game. Yes, when they first introduced it, there were cars everywhere. And now we have less of those. And I'm not finding one of the cars. Oh, here's one right here. Now, okay, this one was a station wagon. Now, getting them, your specialists, into the cars and driving the car then, for example, this is a repaired one. So that means driving it from this location, it's not any harder moving that than it would be. Here's where my town is. It would not be any more difficult for me to move this than it would be a person. What I found really challenging at first, until they came out and did some sort of a hotfix update, I think, was after you had repaired the vehicles and you were driving a team of, you'd gone here into your colony and you had a car here and you put a bunch of your healed specialists that were all recovered and ready to go again. You put them into the vehicle, and there was an option here where you could make them into a team, which in that case then it took you out here to your worldview map, where you would start, of course, with your car, repaired car here at your colony, and you could drive it out to wherever it is you wanted to drop all those specialists off. Well, that part of it, of course, again, all worked just fine. Driving the car to wherever it is. Again, it had to be on the parts of your world map that you had explored. You could drive them out to wherever you wanted them to go. And then when you got to the destination, well, that's where the challenge began, because you had to get them to come out of that vehicle in some fashion. See, now there's that station wagon, and there was the other one over here, and I thought I did spot one vehicle somewhere on here that I had not yet recovered and taken. Now I'm not seeing it. Of course I wouldn't see it now because I'm trying to talk to you guys. But anyway, when you do find them, they're not that, they don't travel that far or fast or anything, because of course they need repair work done on them and everything. But anyway, that was the challenge I discovered at first was, okay, you've got your repaired vehicle out here. You had, 2, 3, 4, however many it is that you had put in there of specialists, and you had to get them out of the vehicle. Like this one, the station wagon here, this would actually hold up to 4 specialists. And you have to get them out of the vehicle so that they can, do their exploring or picking up of resources or whatever it is, or fighting with the bandits, whatever it is that you wanted to do with them out here. You had to get them out of the vehicle. Well, as you can see, just clicking on this here, there does not seem to be any mechanism to interact with, if there were specialists in this vehicle. There wasn't any way to directly to, like if you clicked on one that was here or anything, it just was not very intuitive in how you went about getting the specialists to pop out of the vehicle then. And eventually what I worked out was you had to first click on the car itself. And if there was a specialist that was in the vehicle, you had to keep clicking on it with your left. Well, see, I use a mouse and keyboard, so it was my left mouse button. I would keep clicking on it until finally I would get whichever one of the first specialists that was listed as in this position. They would be, you would have the icon for them standing here, like these are, instead of the car itself. Once you got that to where the specialist was standing over the top of that vehicle, then you could right click with your mouse just like you would ordinarily to move them off and away from the vehicle. That was how you would get them out of the vehicle. It's not a very intuitive way of doing it. It wasn't some way where you could, sit here and you could click on the car and then you could press a key or something that would cause them to exit the vehicle. That was very, very awkward, and it took me a while to work out just how to go about doing it. And I am suggesting that they make that easier. I do like the vehicles. It's wonderful. It makes it much, much easier to move our specialists back and forth, because after all, this does get to be quite big, our world out here, and moving them back and forth, because with them moving around, of course, they're going to get injured, either from trying to recover something that was in a dangerous location or from dealing with the bandits. And having an efficient way of moving them from there back over to our colony and back, I really do like that idea a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. Okay, so enough said on that for that point. About the only other thing I think I wanted to cover in this video was the mention of that they have added some support for Twitch users in your gameplay. Now, I have not had time. Yes, I do have a Twitch account, probably like many other people. From what I understand, and I have not tried to experiment with it, is what they've added to it is, yes, you have to link your Twitch account, obviously, in with the game in the settings. That's, I think that's somewhere over here in your, somewhere in here, and your, right, well, right there it was. Enable Twitch integration right there. And there's your Twitch voting countdown, because that's what your Twitch ability is if you're playing on Twitch, and of course you have your followers that are following you and watching you play on Twitch, what they'll be able to do is vote on what sort of disaster it is that's going to hit your colony next. And with you adjusting that so that, you know, for example, that you can adjust it so that it takes them longer before they can go about and telling you what something is going to hit. So that that way, I'm not sure if I like that idea yet, but I am willing to try to experiment with it. But for that, I would have to have a viewer that would assist me with that. And I don't know, which in other words mean we would both have to be on and playing. They would have to have the game as well as would I, and we would have to kind of coordinate that out. One of us would be playing, the other one would be voting. I'm not sure if I want to do that at this point. Yes, the game is much more stable than it was in the beginning. But as I said, with this problem with the resources, it's still very much of a struggle to get a colony at least up to this level of things, where you're getting into the end stages, at least of where the game is at this time. And I'm not sure if I like to have the added difficulty of dealing with someone voting on, I mean, they would probably be voting to get me the harder, like the nuclear fallout or something like that every time I turn around or something like that, or something of that nature. And I would definitely want to leave a large gap of time between when those things could hit, because you need enough time to recover from a disaster before you could, you should, that is, at least that's the way I feel, you should have enough time to recover from it before you get hit with another. So I'm not sure if I'm willing to try playing that with anyone at this particular time just yet. I do agree it's an interesting concept, but I'd certainly like to see something more done with like the resource situation at this time before I would want to try to do that. But anyway, let's bring this one to a close. Oh, and here's my refinery, by the way, that is processing that oil that, well, right now I don't have any of it growing because, well, I had so much that I've grown previously that this one is pretty much full. This one's not quite as full, but it's pretty full there. And I decided I actually wasn't going to plant any more of the sunflower until I had time to burn some of this fuel up in some way, either through trading it or by using it with my specialists in their journeying about on the map. But anyway, that's all I was going to say at this point. This is my environmental station that's right now, it's working on getting rid of, well, this big blob of thing here. And I have, well, let's see, this one is pretty full, and this one is got quite a bit of room left in it. But I've got room for more up in here and everything. But as you can see, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to play with this, because as I said, I've kind of reached the end point. I've got all these metal extractors going, and it's just difficult to proceed beyond this point with keeping the colony going, because I'm just not going to have the metal resources to keep things going. So, in any case, thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Bye for now.